Well, no parent wants to learn their child is being bullied, but how do you respond if that is the case? Shocking vision emerged earlier this month of an Adelaide mother entering a classroom and threatening to assault a 12-year-old child who she accused of harassing her daughter.
Now, sadly, Australia ranks second in the Western world for bullying rates among school kids. So what is the best course of action for students, for parents and for teachers? Anti-bullying advocate and founder of Social Kung Fu, Matt Purcell. Nice to see you, mate. Welcome to the studio. The Adelaide story was shocking, but so sadly, what's sad about this is so many people can relate to this. Frustration, it's going to be just a horrible experience. For parents and children who are reaching breaking point, what do you think it should be the first call to action, the first point of action? What do we do?
If your child's being bullied right now and you're speaking to your school, your story's not being actioned very quickly because the process is so slow, and while you're waiting for things to be done, the bullying continues. So I see two sides of the fence here. One's with the parent, one with the school. As a parent, you need to be asking one question: is my child safe to go for another week if I'm at breaking point, or for the next month? If the answer is no and you're not sure, be the boss, make the call for your family. Call up the school even. What is the next steps that are going to happen? And if they can give you a time frame, which I hope they can, then you can maybe pull your child out if that's the case, so you can get your facts straight and get realigned. Because the school, nothing will tick off a parent more than calling up the school saying this is happening and there's radio silence.
So often emotions take over. We saw that in the vision we just showed you. Processes can get lost. What are some practical tips for parents and students?
I've been helping youth for over a decade. I can tell you it's very difficult to bring up this subject with teenagers particularly. So one of the tactics I use is you find a quiet, safe place, maybe it's shoulder to shoulder in the car, and you bring up a third party. So rather than going direct, are you being bullied right now? Bring up something that you've heard or you've read, or even Cobra Kai show on Netflix right now. Oh, I saw this scene in Cobra Kai, everyone's doing Kung Fu in the schoolyard. Is that happening at school? Maybe do you see that much? Oh, no, not really. So it brings up a conversation about the topic. And the second thing is, I reckon a lot of parents disqualify themselves from sharing their own stories about bullying to be able to create a connection point. Pain is the pitch. So I feel like parents, if you can dig into your history and see and share the effects of bullying that you've seen in your life and their lives around you, that creates connection, which leads to communication, can lead to change.
OK, so that's shoulder to shoulder in the car or maybe a quiet moment at home. What about schools? What should the schools be doing here?
Well, I think schools need to treat themselves as a customer. So if you're a parent and you're going through bullying, your child's going through bullying, what are all the touch points in the processes? We need clear process, but then we need an expectation of when that process will be answered. Is it going to be a month? Is it going to be a week? And then there has to be expectations met with consequences. So once we go through this process, you can expect us to make these meetings happen or these changes happen. Because right now, parents are in the dark. There's no set standard across Australia right now with the anti-bullying process with time and expectation being met.
I was going to say, because some schools can manage that process and others can't, right?
That's correct, yeah.
And what about transparency? Sometimes the parents might go to school and say this is happening, and they might say, but are you aware this is happening too? Like, is it important that parents are willing to listen to all sides of the story?
I definitely think parents are more willing to come on board when there is a clear path. It's only fair. I mean, it's hard to be a school when you've got 500 to 1,000 kids. You're managing a city, essentially.
Yeah, and it's he said, she said a lot of the time as well.
That's right.
Yeah.
So it needs to be very clear from the school that I hear you, I understand you, put it through this process so that we can get to it, so we can contact the other side. So there needs to be a documentation. Like, it's just not clear enough when emotions are high from parents to go, this is the one place I need to go, and this is what's going to happen within that time frame.
So schools have to have really clear framework for dealing with this?
Yeah.
OK.
And what if it's not happening at school? So much of this now is happening on social media. There's this looming social media ban for under 16s. Do you feel that's going to change things?
It's an enormous year for parents this year. So as soon as that date gets announced, I will call it the great digital reset in the home. So it's about your chance as a parent to push reset on how devices are used. My recommendation is all devices in the family home are family devices, not individually owned.
Yeah, right.
So just like a company gives you a phone, you can use it. If you abuse it, you lose it. So if we can pull that in, because it's less about social media banning people from that and going, well, there's other things that people can access. I reckon teenagers are going to run amok. There's WhatsApp, there's deepfake. That's all non-restricted to 16. So it's a device issue as much as a social media access.
New tricks.
So we had that stat, Australia the second worst in the Western world for bullying. What needs to happen? What else can we do?
Well,
Because that's a horrible stat. We like to be top of the stats, but this is not one.
Silver medal as the highest
silver
rating
medal.
bullying.
Yeah.
So that's why social kung fu is really important. It says evidence-based through the University of Sydney. So we need evidence-based education for parents and students and in schools. So it's tactics that actually work. So scripts. So the number one form of abuse in Australia right now is not kicks or punches. It's verbal abuse. It's through the tongue and through the thumb. So we need actual tactics to help kids. So that's what we're doing right now. We want to see that rolled out across Australia.
Yeah. Really good advice, Matt. Thank you so much. It's a horrible stat and good to see people doing something about it. Thank you.
Thanks,
Great
guys.
work that you're doing, mate. Thank you.